Good morning, ma'am. A hearty welcome to our day 3 of the FTP. A hearty welcome to the participants as well. Dr. V.K. Karthika is Assistant Professor of English in the Department of Humanities and Social Sciences at National Institute of Technology, Trichy. She earned her master's degree in TESOL studies from the University of Leeds, England, after a master's in English and comparative literature with first rank and gold medal from Pondicherry Central University, India. She completed her BA in English literature with second rank from Mahatma Gandhi University, India. She began her teaching career in England as an ESOL instructor and assessor for ESOL examinations and conducted studies related to language acquisition, cultural adaptation, and professional needs of English instructors. She teaches ELT, linguistics, second language acquisition, and critical discourse analysis to MA students and offers English for communication and professional ethics courses to the UG students and guides PhD scholars at NIT Trichy. A hearty welcome once again to you, ma'am. Over to Dr. Karthika.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. I would like to thank Ms. Karthika and Dr. Hasina for having me invited over for this program. So, Dr. Jayashree, am I audible? Good morning.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, okay. And my video is clear as well, right?
Yes, it's clear. It's clear.
Okay. In case of any technical glitches, you just call me.
Sure, ma'am. I'll tell you.
If there is anything, because we were experiencing some kind of network connectivity issues here for the past.
Okay.
So if something happens, you please let me know.
Sure, ma'am. I'll inform.
So I hope Hasina might have shared you a few
Yeah, I got 2 documents with me. It's with
right.
me.
Okay.
When
So
you tell
when
me,
I
I'll share it.
yeah, when I tell you, you can share it. I'll see if I can screen it, and if that doesn't work, this is just
Okay, ma'am.
yeah. Okay. So good morning, participants. I congratulate VIT Chennai for having this faculty development program in pedagogy, which is very important. I wanted a profile of the participants, but Hasina told me that you people are from different subject areas, not from English. So I have pitched this talk at a different level that it caters to all needs. So it's generally talking about the pedagogical methods. I'll try sharing my screen. Let's see if it works. So I should go for this. Yes, I hope it is visible. And I'm making it.
Yes, ma'am. It's clear.
Yeah, is it full screen now?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, okay, great. So we will begin now. And my time is up till 11:30. Is that?
We can wind up at 11:15, ma'am.
Okay.
Because the Zoom meeting is designed in such a way that it gets cut naturally at 11:30.
All right. Okay.
So the last 15 minutes, we can have question answer session.
That's fine. Absolutely fine. So I think I'll be able to wind up before that. Participants, you may reserve your questions or concerns towards the end so that we can have a discussion. I'll try stopping at 11 or 11:10. Yeah. So now to move on, well, you know that enhancing learners, self-directedness is my topic. And this is a very abstract kind of thing. How can you inculcate this self-directedness, something that I have to do on my own? How are you going to make me do it? Is a big challenge. So I'm thinking about maybe thinking with you how we as teachers swiftly switch to the role of facilitators or mentors, and how can we actually get the students become autonomous? I mean, it's a little ironic or paradoxical in a sense when we say that somebody has to be autonomous, and to make that person autonomous, I am going to help him or her. So it's very interesting. Let's see some tenets of this. So I just want to argue that Learners learn better if self-directedness is activated. That means if they can take charge of their own learning, they learn better. Very well-known kind of a thing. So I put it as an argument. I'll tell you how to substantiate this, or how do I substantiate this. And this will finally make them pretty self-sufficient, autonomous kind of learners, where our roles are quite diminishing. And one way to promote self-directedness is to promote critical thinking skills. Um, so if you don't think about your own style of learning, your own style of teaching, if you are a teacher, if you want to think from a teacher's perspective, and ask several critical questions like how and why. The what question is pretty easy, but then we need to think about the hows and whys in teaching and learning. And when the students start asking such questions, there is a move towards self-directedness. That means they take charge of their own learning and become so independent in their learning. But this is kind of a utopian notion that one day the students are going to become autonomous and we are going to be redundant. And what is our role? These questions are always looming large around us. But there is a channeling, there is a kind of movement towards this activation of self-directedness and towards the activation of learner autonomy. And even when you look at the new education policy, NEP 2020, you can see that the entire structure is designed in such a way that eventually, if it is practical, if it is implemented, eventually the learners assume a lot more control than they have now in their learning. So, and then collaboration is another technique that we need to. It's not a technique. It's something imperative for a classroom context to be dynamic enough, or to be conducive enough for learning. So, by promoting learner collaboration, we can actually make them a lot more self-directed. And another one is the use of Bloom's taxonomy for classroom transactions. See, we as educators, we know about Bloom's taxonomy and its levels and all. But instead of teaching the students what and how and why of Bloom's taxonomy, you need to, or we need to actually think about it or perceive it slightly differently and get the students to think in that paradigm. So we are all for outcome-based education. We think about the outcome of education, all sorts of things. But then how much of it is known to the students? I'm not asking us to go to the classroom and display the diagram on the board and say that, yeah, this is Bloom's taxonomy and this is why it is this or that. I'm proposing that by making the students familiarize with the concept that Bloom's and discussed in his framework, we can actually get them move towards this critical thinking path and self-directedness. This is my argument. And I just want to say what is self-directed learning and role of critical thinking, role of collaboration, peer plus teacher-learner collaboration, importance of Bloom's taxonomy for an educator. So I would like to argue that learners have to be equipped with the skills to develop autonomy so that they can take charge of their learning, which generates a lot better outcome than it gives when the teacher is the top one in the hierarchy, or the teacher assumes the control. All these things we know. So now I would like to open this question to you. What is meant by being educated? Can someone unmute and respond to this? You can use the hand raise option so that the traffic will be smooth. What is meant by being educated? For you, what does it mean?
Participants, you can respond, please.
We're all teachers, so you might have some idea about what is meant by being educated. Can someone respond?
You can even use the chat box.
Yeah, absolutely.
Being able to sensitize social and general concepts by Rohini.
Say that again, Dr. Jayashree, once again. Being able to generate.
Being able to sensitize social and general concepts.
Absolutely. Very good. So we have the social responsibility being inculcated among the students, whatever subjects we teach, whether English or mathematics or science, whichever subjects we teach, we need to inculcate that social and civic sensibility. Yes, true. What else? A few more responses. We are all teachers. We know we work with students.
We are in one way or the other much different from the others, ma'am. Our style of living, the way we talk, the way we carry ourselves, our personality.
Yeah. So by being educated, so if I want to qualify somebody as oh he is or she is very well educated, what do I expect? She has given some, Rohini has given some example like social sensibility and civic sensitivity and all. Yeah, that is true. Other than that, it's not, see, if you think about it, you will understand that it's not just knowledge. It's not about acquiring a lot of knowledge, acquiring subject-based knowledge, but it is beyond that. So what is it that goes beyond? Uh, yeah, somebody has certain level of authority inculcates discipline. Yes, Rohini herself. Yes. So true. Being educated gives us a certain level of authority. Yes, over the subject matter. So if somebody is a physics graduate, we expect the person to have that content knowledge. At the same time, discipline. What do you mean by discipline? It can be interpreted differently. I won't go into the details of that, but then in a disciplined way, the person is able to discuss the knowledge that she or he has and impart it or inculcate it among others if that person is an educator. So that brings me to the next concern. What is teaching? So if being educated means it's like you are quite civic, you are quite socially responsible, you have ethical concerns about your fellow beings and your society. So then if that is teaching, I mean, if that is called being educated, or these are the qualities that we expect from an educated person, then what is teaching? Having empathy towards animals and human beings. So these are all part of educated humans. Yes. So that's an interesting thing. So it's not among human beings that our empathy should rest on, but then non-humans as well. Very good. So think about what is teaching, Shipra and Rohini and others. Oh, this is what we do and we don't know. That can't be true. So what is teaching? I mean, our basic argumentation should begin from here. We need to critically analyze what do we mean by teaching, passing on the wisdom to next generation. Current it's to make them think in certain way. Okay. Yamini says, passing on the wisdom. Current teaching setup requires teachers to acquire the roles of being facilitators. Okay, this teacher provides opportunity and make the stage ready for the students. And then Yamini says, passing on the wisdom, so the knowledge, the content knowledge. Shipra says it is to make them think in a certain way. Yeah, interesting point. It is to make them in a certain way. That second part is slightly like complex in a certain way. In what ways? Yeah, we need to make the students think critically, think differently. But then, in what way do we do that? Is there a teacher's way for that, or is there a general way in which we should train the students, or it should be like lateral? It should be like quite open, out of the box kind of thinking, where the students can examine several concerns and then formulate their own assumptions and eradicate any kind of irrationality and bias analysis, all these things come into this teaching brain. So basically, it's like enabling the students. You might be familiar with the story of how Panchatantra was written. Should be good for the society, nation. Yes, true. So you think about this origin of Panchatantra as we hear it. There was this person, this king, who was worried about his idiotic children, idiotic in quotes. They were not men, not very intelligent and very unlikely like the usual chivalric princes that we are familiar with. So the king was very worried and he called this particular guru called Vishnu Sharman, and he tried to teach them, but they can't learn anything because their intellectual level is so deep down. And then what Vishnu Sharman does is by telling stories, several different stories. Okay, so through these stories, the children, the princes, become quite switched on, quite intelligent, clever, and they reach up to the expectation of this king. So whether it is the parental expectation or the teacher's duty, I'm not talking about it. Today, my focus is on the pedagogic tool that he has used, which is storytelling for Vishnu Sharman. Okay, that's it. Now, when you look at it, it's very interesting. How many of us actually sit back and think about the tools that we use to teach the students? Just have a thought about it. You need to think about it. This session is pretty much like I want to engage you in certain kind of thinking and maybe retrospect later on. So the output of this session may come quite later if you think alongside with me. So if Vishnu Sharman could transform some so-called idiotic, quiet, not clever kind of individuals into very bright and intelligent humans with lots of empathy, civic sense, and social responsibility through sheer storytelling process, then that is a very different way of teaching, where what Shipra said about making them think in a way, think in multiple ways. That's what Vishnu Sharman did. And the tool that
class Peter, sir.
the tool that he used was the tool that he used was actually
Hey,
um,
Shivani.
uh, Dr. Vidya, could you please
Hi.
mute yourself?
Super. All
Or the organizer can mute.
traffic like காலையில வர்றதுக்கே ரொம்ப கஷ்டமா இருக்கு. I the problem that I have is completely different. I have to make ready my kids. ரொம்ப அழகா இருக்கு, but I love this.
Yeah.
Yeah. See.
Miss Vidya?
Yeah. All these. Yes. ரொம்ப அழகா இருக்கு.
Please mute your mic.
Yeah. Of course, you. Nice. Why is it inside?
Yeah, thank you so much. So, and then you have another story of this Arabian Nights where you have a king. I am sure you know that who used to kill his wives every night or in the morning after he has the marital bliss. So he kept on marrying several girls, and then after the night that they spent together, they used to be killed. And then this girl comes who is called Sherazad, and he marries her, and his plan was the original one, but then during their wedded night she started telling him a story, and she tells the story in such a captivating way that it goes on till the morning, and the story doesn't end there. So the king is very curious, the emperor is very curious about the end of the story, and he wants to know what happens as the climax of the story, so he spares her life. So like that, she doesn't finish a story so that her life is saved, and the emperor cannot but wait till the story ends, and then the night she ends the story and begins another one as a continuation of this. Like that, they spent 1001 nights, and that is called 1001 Nights, the Arabian stories. Okay, so After the 1001 Nights, the emperor becomes a totally changed person. The civic sense, the social responsibility, the empathy, ethics, morality, everything is stems in him. So, in a way, Sherazad was educating the Sultan through her story. So, when you think about it, teaching happens in very different dimensions. You think about how you taught values to your children, our own children. We don't, we teach them in different contexts. We don't teach them like, oh, these are the set of values that you should follow when you are meeting someone or talking to someone. We just think about it in context, and we teach them in context. They imbibe the knowledge in context. So teaching is a process that is not restricted within the four walls, which we usually term as classroom. So the classroom is the entire world, and where now with the technology, you look at it, I sit in Trichy and I talk to you people, and you might be, separated in time and space. Time in the sense, if you are attending this from another country with the time zone gap, yes. So you look at it, the physical nature of context itself is quite challenging. So it's very difficult to say that teaching happens only in this context or that context, and teaching is with this tool, or teaching happens only when we use this tool or that tool. We can, if we are creative enough and critical thinkers enough, we can use any kind of tools to teach our students, our children. So now you look at it, problem solving is a very important skill. This crow was a viral crow. You still have it on YouTube if you look at it. It waits for the perfect moment. It reads the traffic signal so that it can place it in the road, so that the cars will go on it, or the vehicles will move on it, and the nut is cracked. And then when the signal goes for stop, it goes and picks it up to eat, because with its beak, it's very difficult to crack the nut. So it uses the tires or the moving vehicles to crack the nut by reading the traffic signals. Very interesting. So if a crow can do that much, then think about our students, their problem solving skills. But then when you really think about it, it's quite difficult to see that, or maybe painful to see that several of them lack critical thinking skills. Some of my students with whom I began my engineering English career with, I asked a very simple question to them. What is a plus b the whole square? And then they were able to say a square plus b square plus 2ab. And same way they knew what is a minus b the whole square. They knew the answer. But I asked them, why do you need it? They didn't have an answer to that. Why do you need this equation at all? They had no idea about it. There was a hoarding that was kept outside the university once, long back when I was working with another institute. And then it was a very open kind of land. A lot of wind always passes by, and this big hoarding was there with several holes in it. So I asked them, did you see that hoarding outside? Yes, we did. And why do you think there are holes? Very few students could actually think about it. And if you think about Newton's laws of motion, everybody knows about them. But what are their application? We don't normally think about it. Or when something happens, we don't correlate it with the theory. We learn theory, we by heart it, and then that ends there. We don't do it from the practice to the theory bit. We always think about the theory, and these are the practical application. So even the practical applications, we just say that, or we just show them that. We don't ask them to experience it. So everything works with mathematics and physics in the world, isn't it? So when you are a physics teacher or a mathematics teacher, or any stream you come from, even English, I claim that we can talk about anything, because we can talk about maths, we can talk about physics. We are just like omnipotent when it comes to the teaching part of it. I boast. So when you are equipped with your content knowledge, please try to look at the problems that the students can pick up from their nature. For example, I ask my students, if I want to clean a doormat, what should I do? Well, even for that, they have different opinions. But then most of them say that you will just bang it on a wall so that the dust will be off. I said, yes. So what principle of physics work there? No idea. So we need to actually practically orient them towards such things and then say that, yeah, this is the physics behind it and this is why we need it, or this is how it works. So they all know Newton's law of motion. They all know about the law about inertia, but they are not able to correlate that, yeah, this happens because of inertia. The movement is there, but certain particle remains, still. Therefore, it happens. Nobody knows that. So problem solving is something that we need to really inculcate. Problem solving skills need to be inculcated in the students. And then now if you look at the 21st century skills, you can see that there are two types of skills which have been covered by Shipra and Rohini in the beginning: thinking and learning skills and social and emotional skills, creativity, critical thinking, digital literacy, learning to learn. These are the cognitive kind of skills. And when it comes to social and emotional skills, communication, collaboration, emotional development, social responsibility, these are also very important. So this is what we think about when we think about a global citizen and his or her characteristics or traits, personality traits. The person should be creative, critical thinker, digitally literate, and the person should know how to learn. So learning to learn is our crux here. And how do we inculcate that self-directedness in learning? So you think about it: collaboration, critical thinking, learning to learn, all of them will join with learn, all of them are intersecting to form learner autonomy. These are very important. So now a critical interpretation, if you want to go for self-directedness, you can think of it as a continuous exercise by the learner of authentic control over all decisions about learning. So any kind of decisions: when to start learning, whether to go to school, which subject should I study, all these things are quite authentic for the learner. So the learner chooses whether to do that or not. Now, having said this, I know the pitfall. I know how difficult it is. So when you think about self-direction as the ability to access and choose from, or a range of available and appropriate resources and opportunities, you need to pick certain things from. And it is that ability to make that rational choice. Which one suits me? Which one suits my style, which one suits my needs. So this kind of a mature decision making is what we call as self-directedness, or some kind of ability to make such kind of decisions. And how is it possible? Because we deal with teenagers, and their decision making in even crossing a road will be slightly challenging for them, whether to cross the road, left, right, left, and then cross the road. It's very difficult. Read the traffic signal, look at the vehicle. Should I run? Should I stop? Should I walk? These are all puzzling kind of questions. I've seen people struggling with it to make decisions. And now to make this larger decision of being self-directed, choosing what I want to learn, how to learn, where to learn, when to learn, all these things are quite troublesome, quite problematic. I'm not saying that it's an easy task. And today I would like to think along with you, what can we do as teachers to make them direct towards this self-directedness, or orient them towards the self-directedness. It's not easy, because it's a very mature kind of decision that the student should make. And our context is quite bound in a sense now, because you have institutional preferences, you have other academic and administrative responsibilities. The students will have the syllabus stress, and you too will have the syllabus stress. Within this particular time, in 24 weeks or 14 weeks or whatsoever weeks that you have been allotted to, you need to cover all these, cover in quotes, these bits of syllabus. Then how do we go about it? So I have talked to you about it. What are the strategies that are good for me? What are the materials that I should choose? Which are the resources? Now, even there is like, should I attend an online class or an offline class? That also becomes a concern now. So, all sorts of decisions, if the students are making it, that's called self-directed learning. And different helpers will be there, teachers, mentors, maybe somebody else who sits in the US or in Stanford University, could be a professor, or could be someone else, could be from industry. So there can be a network of people who are able to help the students or making them self-directed. So sometimes some YouTube channels will teach the students about certain principles of physics or chemistry or botany or zoology, whichever subject they teach. Thermodynamics, laws of thermodynamics being explained in a very simple way over YouTube, and then the same thing is being taught by a teacher. The learner has the choice of sitting in the hostel and watching the YouTube, or to go to the classroom and attending the session. So here our role becomes very crucial, because what is it that we should do to get the students seek our help to become self-directed? You look at it. This is why I said it's very paradoxical. We are helping them to become themselves and become so motivated to learn by themselves, but then our role is pretty much there. So I'm not saying that self-directedness can be earned, can be generated among the students on their own. It's very difficult because of the cognitive ability and the kind of channeling that they require at certain points. Scaffolding is always required, and we need to be there to facilitate that. So yeah, I have talked about that. So we can move to the next one, where the context is also very important. I have given some kind of an introduction to the context as well, where to achieve that kind of personal autonomy, the context should be conducive, and we can't restrict it within the boundaries of our classrooms. It extends outside. So we have different backgrounds, prior education experiences. Our students come with those baggage, and we need to really listen to them and facilitate an atmosphere for them to unpack those things that they carry in their head, and pick up certain things from the classroom and from the learning environment, from peers, from us, to make them more suitable, or make them more efficient to grab the knowledge that is being circulated through various media. It could be through your PowerPoint presentations, could be through your videos that you're showing, or through your lecture notes or lectures that you give, or maybe some journals that you bring into the classroom. So whatever becomes the medium or tool of that pedagogy, the learners should be able to construe themselves as an active participant in this knowledge constructing business in quotes. So I think we can skip that quote, and you need to look at the processes in self-directedness. One is assessing the readiness to learn. So are you ready for learning something? I should have asked this question in the beginning. I was a little skeptical, so I didn't ask this question. Are you ready to learn? So when you are embarking on a course like this conducted by VIT Chennai, what do you expect from this program? And once you have the program lines and the talks scheduled, you go through the lines and then you make a decision whether I need this or that, or I need to spend more time on this particular topic. I should have some background knowledge about it. Let me browse. Do you actually do that? Or you come just like blank slates? These are all like indicating our readiness to learn. For example, if I go for some program, I never go there without any idea about the institute or whether, the topic. So if I attend a class, and if that is in some field, I read about, basically maybe my Wikipedia reading will suffice to get some background knowledge if I don't have any idea at all. So even if I go to NASA to listen to some kind of lectures, when I know the title of the talk, I go, I browse, I make myself ready to expect the unexpected and go there. So this assessing the readiness is very important. And who should assess this readiness? The learners should do the assessing of readiness, not you actually. But when I say this, you need to think about yourself. We all need to think about ourselves as learners as well and understand that. Let's set learning goals. So the learner should know whether they are able to, they are ready to learn. And then if I am ready to learn, then I need to set my goals. So when I come for this program, this is my objective. I'm ready to absorb it. And now, what are my learning goals? 1, 2, 3. I need to have a few learning goals. So, for example, to my communication class, the students come. What they want is to speak well, fluently, to write official letters, yeah, write SOP, statement of purpose, to go abroad, face the interview. They have very clear cut kind of ideas about what they want from the class. So I always ask the students, what do you want? This is my course plan. What change do you want to make in the course plan? Because complete self-directedness and complete learner autonomy is still not practical, because we work with certain institutional restrictions, or certain restrictions in terms of syllabus and examinations and other things. So total revamping of the educational system is not in our hands. Yeah, in the spectrum of education, we are one speck at some part, right? So it's difficult to make such bigger kind of decisions which only policymakers can make. So I can make whatever decisions I can within my control, within my regulations, right? So I make this decision of publishing my coursework, course plan to the students, showing it to them, and then ask them to think individually and in groups to come up with what they want, what modifications do they want. So sometimes they'll say that instead of product review alone, we would like to go for a film review as well, because there should be some entertainment purpose, though this is an ESP course. Sometimes they'll say that we want more of engineering related materials in here. Well, it's difficult, but then there are plenty of materials available. So I have to go through that track. And then they say that today, this particular day, instead of that activity, we should plan this, because this, I think, will go according to the whatever you think about it. The students start thinking, they make comments on the teacher's course plan, and then you need to be quite open to these things. And if you don't want to go ahead with some of their suggestions, you need to be rationally substantiating your point. So that's a dangerous area, very gray one indeed. If you don't have confidence in, if we don't have confidence in what we are supposed to do. So engage in the learning process is the next one. So that is the students' own responsibility again to get involved in this learning process, and then evaluate learning. So have I learned it? So even when you finish this coursework, you need to go through this. Was I ready? Did I set any learning goals? If I have set, have I engaged in that learning process? And now have I learned all those things that I set as goals? Have I achieved those goals? You need to really like evaluate that. Now, when you think about assessing the readiness to learn, the student has to conduct a self-evaluation of their present scenario, study habits, family situation, support system that they have at school or college and home, and evaluate past experience with independent learning. How difficult it is. You think about it. I'm largely talking about tertiary level students, but this habit should be inculcated in the students even from childhood. So at least you think about your own children, nephews and nieces and all, and how do we inculcate this habit of self evaluation of their current situation? What do I know? What do I want to learn? See, I have all the rights to say this, because I have a daughter who is 9 years old, who has been homeschooled till now. So she makes decisions on what to learn and what not to learn. And sometimes it's really difficult for me to convince her that, yes, you need to learn physics as well, or you need to, not physics so much, but then bits and pieces of it. And then I have to rely on different modes, sometimes use cartoons for making her learn that, or sometimes use newspapers to, or, picture books to make her learn that. It's very difficult, but then I go that extra mile and then I do that. So teachers should be able to assist the learners in assessing their readiness. What do I want to learn? Sometimes my daughter says that, no, I want to see how the vegetables can be grown today. So again, I'll have to take her to the garden and then see how the agricultural things should happen. It's very difficult. This is not that difficult if you think about it, to teach tertiary level students. At least they understand certain things. If you ask them to dig a pit, then they'll be able to do that. I mean, physically able to do that. So think about it. It's always possible if we are motivated enough. So the signs of readiness for self-directed learning include being organized, self-disciplined, able to communicate, and able to accept constructive feedback, engage in self-evaluation and self-reflection. So make the students do a self-assessment, and then if they are feeling free to share it with you, just look at it and give some kind of support to them. Maybe you can think about that slightly differently. This is how you need to voice it. You can't say, oh, no, 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 that's wrong. That's not how you need to do. That's not the way, but you will have to be really patient, look at it, and then communicate it in a very amiable way, very pleasing kind of way, which is very difficult. Second one is setting goals. How do you set a learning contract? Okay, so when I have to learn something, I'm always learning something or the other. So when I have to learn something, I make this actually. Why do I study this? So if it is a unit, why do I study this? Structure and sequence of activities in that. Even for writing academic papers, research papers, I use this tract. Then timeline for completion. Okay, this time I'll complete this. Time in the sense not 10:25 p.m. or a.m., not like that, but generally. So this week, this is my task, and I'll finish this much by this time, this much by this time. And then if I don't, because of some personal circumstances, I catch up with that. You think about it, we might have done it in our school times, rather than even, being adults, we might have practiced it as children, because our critical thinking would have been so sharp at that point. Timeline for completion of activities, details about resource material for each goal. I usually work it in tables. So this is my goal. What should I do for that? 1, 2, 3, 4. It's very systematic. You might think that it's crazy, but it is not. It gives you so much perspective, help you to be very disciplined. So the same thing happens with the students, and then they should be known about the grading procedure so that they can incorporate that as well. So I want to get a lot of knowledge. I learn with this schedule, but then the grading happens before that. So I need to finish this segment before that particular grading date. So the student will have to plan it properly. They'll here in NIT, they'll have to even plan their vacation journeys or their tickets, train tickets and flight tickets based on the assessment. So we need to really give the assessment deadlines and everything earlier so that they'll put it into their learning contract. So everybody has a mental contract, but we don't get it as materialized. And when it gets materialized, I ask them to stick it on their notebook, this timetabling or this planning stuff, this contract. It works beautifully well. It makes us being more responsible towards helping them to be responsible. So very interesting kind of an exercise it is. Meeting plan with the advising instructor. So we are not available all the time, right? We have other classes as well. So the students can actually seek a time when the teacher is available for doubts and clarifications. I mean, clarifications of doubts, queries and all. So these are all part of the learning contracts that the students should have. And for students to have this, we first need to try this out. Agreement of unit policies, such as a policy on late assignments, even that. If I miss assignment 1, what should I do? Will I get a compensation 1? Or if I miss one assignment among all the 4, will I get 1 or will I get multiple times? What is it? So I sometimes give them 2 assignments, though it is really difficult. But with a class of 120 students, only 1 compensation assignment. So when I make these things clear in the beginning, they make a note of all these. They make a note of all these dates, and then they go accordingly. So you look at it; it gives a lot of discipline to the students.
चप्पल पैरों से बड़े पहनना
Yeah. Once they create, I can hear some crows talk.
क्या कुर्सी की नहीं है यार कुर्सी नहीं है
Dr. Jayashree, could you please mute those participants who are talking, because it echoes on my system and it's quite disturbing.
Yes, ma'am, I'll do.
Thank you so much. So once created, these learning contracts should be shown to the faculty and assessed. What could go wrong? We need to predict. Is there too much or too little work? Is the timeline and evaluation reasonable? All these things we can comment upon very empathetically and engage in the learning process. They should also consider certain questions. What are my needs regarding instructional methods? Who was my favorite teacher and why? This is an interesting thing. We all have a favorite teacher and we will have several different reasons for it. Sometimes it might be the way they treated us. Sometimes it might be the way they were very knowledgeable. Sometimes the way they were strict, but at the same time kind. So there are several features of this favoritism that we have in a sense. So the students should also think about those features. We need to also think about such features. Am I like that person? Am I like this person? What kind of a teacher am I? We need to evaluate our own characteristics. What did they do that was different from other teachers? This is the most important question. What did they do? Which makes them quite distinguished, or which makes them quite different from others. And then we might have to substitute our own role from being a teacher to being an advising instructor. So we advise them and instruct them if they seek our advices or pieces of advice. And then they need to understand their approach to studying. There are 3 different approaches, which are like surface, strategic, and deep approach. So what we need is actually the deep approach. Surface approach is actually quite like the remembering bits or understanding bit, and strategic involves organization, achieving the highest possible grades, learning what is required to pass the exam. So pretty much exam oriented kind of teaching learning is called strategic approach. Deep approach is all about understanding the ideas, being able to apply that in context, being able to analyze different aspects of the learning theory, all these things. So we need to guide them towards these 3 approaches. Alert them that when you're doing this, there are certain things that you are missing. When you're doing this, there are certain things that you're wonderfully doing. So this is where the mentor part of our teaching comes in. Now, to evaluate the learning, we need to ensure that the students reach out to us. So for that, we need to be quite accessible to the students and then give them feedback in such a way that they seek for it more. They understand that, yes, through this feedback, I'm learning quite a lot. Engaging in reflection of their own achievements, okay? So they'll have to be asked, they'll have these questions in their mind. How do I know I have learned? Am I flexible in adapting and applying knowledge? Do I have confidence in explaining materials? You think about it. It's very complicated. Just imagine a classroom where the students can actually ask these questions. That's a brilliant scenario. And I know that when I say this, I also understand that it's very difficult to have such kind of autonomous learners in our classroom or self-directed learners in our classroom. But we can all have the small steps towards it. Okay. So, yeah, there are some other questions as well, which we can ask. When do I know I have learned enough? When is the time for self-reflection? When it is time for consulting my advising faculty? All these things are also very important in it. Now, self-assess readiness to learn, defining learning goals and developing a learning contract, monitoring the learning process, take initiative for all stages of learning process and be motivated, reevaluate and alter goals as required, consult the teacher. These are the roles of students in being self-directed. And when it comes to the advising instructors' roles, what are our roles? Build a cooperative learning environment. Make the environment so conducive that the students ask questions and they give responses. Think about this person called Socrates. Socrates, he was a very interesting person, okay? He was a guru, and his disciples come to him with a question. So if somebody asks him a question, he asks a question back. And the student will quietly go and try to answer that question. By answering that question, the student will solve his initial question as well. So it is through questioning that the learning happens. So the teacher has facilitated such an environment where the students can openly ask a question and get a question back and solve it on his own or her own. So look at the problem solving environment that was there. Help to motivate and direct the students' learning experience. So we have to get them involved in that. Okay, we have to get the students involved in their learning process. So we need to challenge them enough. So if it is the challenge level is quite low, the students will not be happy about it. So what should we do? We need to challenge them. We need to give the right level of challenge, ensure that, and then they are active in their learning process. They are responding to the classroom interactions. They are collaborating. They are working together. There is a lot of peer interaction. All these things we can ensure in our classroom. So that is why we give group work, pair work, and other things when it comes to assignments and all. Facilitate students' initiatives for learning. So we need to set the ball rolling. We need to start it. We need to begin. We will have to be the beginners when we need to think about the students and their learning initiatives. We need to help them to begin properly. Be available for consultations. That is quite important. Rather than being a kind of person who instruct the students, do this, do that, we need to be an advisor, go alongside, go with them and talk to them and be with them. And they should have the trust. There need to be some kind of trust building that happens in the classroom. Now, I have an activity. Sorry, it's not three. There is this activity called WOOP. Dr. Jayashree, will you please share that with the participants?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So before you look at the script that she is giving you, please look at this slide. There is wish. What could the person? What the person? Okay. Dr. Jayashree, I'm seeing your screen actually. I lost my screen. I don't know about the participants. What do you see now? Can you see my screen now? Someone, please.
Yeah, after you explain it, I'll share it, ma'am, because it's in
Yeah.
WhatsApp as Hasina had sent it to me.
That's fine.
You finish sharing it, ma'am, then I'll do it.
Sure. Okay, thank you.
You want something to be explained now?
Yeah. I'll tell you when to share. So you look at this, what the person would wish for long term, and then outcomes, what goals would take the person on what journey to success, and then obstacle, what would stop them, and then plan. This is a very simple activity, but you need to do it with with your mind open. And this is very handy for us to generally troubleshoot a lot of procrastination or putting away things, to be disciplined, to achieve a goal. This is also very important. So this is something that you can actually get the students do. I started doing it from last semester onwards, and I started practicing it this time onwards, whether to reduce your weight, whether to achieve, write a paper and publish it, whether to any kind of goals. You need to think through this loop of whoop: wish, outcomes, obstacle, and plan. So now what I'll do, I'll stop sharing the screen, and I have a sheet for you people. So I'll start sharing that. Please have a look at it, and then I'll tell you what to do. Yes. So I hope this is visible. Um, yeah. Can you, I hope you can see my slide. I mean, see the screen now. Dr. Jayashree, can you confirm?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So there are three students who have, three of them have certain goals. Okay. So now let's see who is going to fulfill their wish. I'll read through the first one. I have wanted to make honor roll since my freshman year, and finally earning it is going to be so great. Some of my friends think I can't do it, but I know that I can get my grade up and hit my goal if I just keep reminding myself how much I want to do this. This is student A. Student B says, I'd really like to make honor roll, and I know that means getting my English grade up. I really want to send good grades to colleges in a few years, but sometimes I waste time on my phone. Maybe I should put my phone away for just a little studying time every night. And the third student goes, I know I have a low grade in English because I'm not reading every night. I just end up on my phone after school. I don't even know if I can get my grade up. Making honor roll would be great, but it just might not be possible this quarter. So these three students want to enter this honor roll, which is maybe which is like being a school topper, or maybe leader, or someone like that, head boy or head girl. And three of them have three statements made. Okay. So you have seen the chunk. The first one is very confident about it. Everybody is like, everybody has something to say about it. Now, what do you think? Which student is most likely to fulfill their wish? And why do you think so? Can you put it in the chat box? Student A. Somebody said student A. Can you put it in the chat box? Who do you think will be succeeding? B. Shubha Mall said B. Rohini said A. Can you quickly type down a few more responses? Ramesh says A. Some more responses, please. Shipra says B.
Please type in your responses in the chat box.
Reta says B. Harita says B. Tapeshwar says B. Excellent. Thank you so much. So, one of you who have typed B, can you please unmute and tell me why you said it is B who is going to succeed? Any one of you? Shipra, would you like to unmute and say, because we have had a meeting
Yes,
before.
ma'am. Yes, I would like to. Actually, here in the B section, it is written, I really would like to make honor roll. And in the section A, it is written, I have wanted to make honor roll. Here is the difference. I really wanted to, make honor roll, and I have wanted to make honor roll. So here is the difference between two students. one want to do and one would like. There is a pressure on the person of student A.
All right. So this is Shipra's response. Thank you so much.
Thank
Anybody
you.
has anything to add to this? B, the one B is the right answer. I'll tell you why, but let me see if it comes from you. Anyone else?
Ma'am, maybe I feel that the student B feels more committed. Maybe the last line, maybe I should put my phone away for just a little studying time every day. So who takes a commitment and dedication towards to achieving the goal.
Yes, that's right. So Shipra and you together make it clear to us. See, others have the intention, the strong desire and everything, but they don't identify the problem. The obstacle is not, even if the obstacle is identified, what to do is not given. Only student B has identified the obstacle and identified what to be done to surpass that obstacle. So this is what we need to do in our life as well, right? We find an obstacle, and then how do we survive that? How do we go beyond that? It's very important. Now, I think you should, Dr. Jayashree, I'll stop sharing. You can skip this page and share the next one, which is
Okay, ma'am.
Character Lab Book 4. That you can share. I'll just show that page here. The same one you can share. This one.
Okay. Yeah, I'll do it, ma'am.
Yeah, just this one. Don't
Yeah.
share the other one, just this one. Let me see if I can stop sharing. Yes, I think I stopped sharing. So once I can see your screen. So no, I mean to their WhatsApp group.
Sorry, ma'am.
I said to their WhatsApp group so that they all will have it on their phone.
Okay,
or-
I'll share it.
Yeah, I that is what I meant. This sharing I can do. So I said, if you share it to their WhatsApp groups, they'll have a copy of it with them. And then
Book 4 alone, ma'am. Book 4 alone.
Yeah, 4 only.
Okay. Yeah, I'll forward, ma'am.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's done, ma'am.
Great. Now you can stop sharing so that I can start sharing the screen.
Okay.
Thank you so much. Perfect. So, participants, I'm sure you have got this thing with you, and I want to play a video. You please have a look at that sheet, which is Whoop. I'll share that first. Wish we are going to work on it, and then I'll stop here. Because this is an important thing in inculcating self-directedness in us. So if we don't have that, then how do we go for goal setting or helping with goal setting with the students? So wish, what is an important wish that you want to accomplish? Your wish should be challenging but feasible. The outcome, obstacle, plan. So this is for you. You don't have to share it with me, but we will just do it. I'm going to share a video. I hope it will be audible. Please let me know, Dr. Jayashree, if it is audible. I'm just going to share the screen.
Sure, ma'am.
Yeah.
Welcome to Whoop,
Is it audible?
Yes, ma'am. It's audible.
All right.
which stands for wish, outcome, obstacle, plan. Whoop is a tool that you can use to ease your everyday life, fulfill your wishes, and solve your concerns. Because Whoop draws on your imagery, it is important that you create space to imagine. So, take a deep breath, make yourself comfortable. This is your time. Everything else has to wait. Clear your mind. Now, think about the next 4 weeks. What is your one dearest wish that you would like to fulfill and that you also think you could fulfill during this time frame. Your wish should be challenging, but you should feel that you can fulfill it. If you have several wishes, select the one that is most important to you. The wish can be about your relationship with your friends and family, your fitness, a job, school, or anything else that is important to you. What is your wish? Find this one specific wish. Summarize it in 3 to 6 words and keep it in the front of your mind. Now, what is the best outcome that you associate with fulfilling your wish? How would fulfilling your wish make you feel? Find the best outcome. Summarize it in 3 to 6 words and keep it in the front of your mind. And now, imagine this best outcome as vividly as possible. Give your thoughts and images free rein. Let your mind go. You can close your eyes if you would like. Imagine and feel your best outcome as fully as you can. Slowly wake up and let us continue. Actually, what is it in you that holds you back from realizing your wish? What is it in you that stands in the way of making your wish come true? What behavior of yours or what emotion could hinder you from fulfilling your wish? Dig deeper. What is it in you that stops you from realizing your wish? What is your one main inner obstacle? Find it. Summarize it in 3 to 6 words and keep it in the front of your mind. And now, imagine your one main inner obstacle occurring as vividly as possible. Give your thoughts and images free rein. Let your mind go. You can close your eyes if you would like. Imagine and feel this one main inner obstacle as fully as you can. Slowly wake up and let us continue. Now, what can you do to overcome your obstacle? Identify one action you can take or one thought you can think to overcome your obstacle. What can you do? Identify one effective action or one effective thought. Find it. Summarize it in 3 to 6 words and keep it in the front of your mind. Now, make an if-then plan. Say if, and now take your obstacle, then say, then I will. And now you take your action to make an if obstacle, then I will action plan. Repeat your if obstacle, then I will action plan. This was WOOP, the 4-step exercise, which stands for wish, outcome, obstacle, plan. You can use WOOP for long-term and short-term wishes, for life-changing wishes, and trivial wishes. Use WOOP when you are stressed or when you feel uneasy. It is a companion to guide you through everyday life and long-term development. You may need some practice to get familiar with WOOP. Be patient. The more often you use WOOP, the more helpful it will become. You can create as many WOOPs as you have wishes. Practice WOOP as often as you can. Play with it.
I hope at least some of you might have gone through it, if not all. I'll share you the link of this video, and you can also just 1 second, let me find it out. This is the link to the video. Maybe Dr. Jayashree, you may share the other one as well, so that if somebody is interested, they can actually make use of it.
Sure, ma'am, I'll do it.
Yeah. So I just don't want to prolong. It's almost like time for us. I had a few more slides on, this critical thinking and all, which we have discussed in context. So when we think about being critical thinkers, then we need to actually engage the students in 5 W's. Okay, so this is something that I would like to discuss with you. And H, what, who, when, where, why, and how. These are the kind of questions that the student should be engaged in, the usual WH questions that we talk about, okay? And then they should have some awareness and, self-awareness. They should have, they should be able to consider the content validity or the kind of credibility of the content that they discuss. There are several hoax messages that float on social media. And when you look at it, you need to really think about it, whether it is required for us to share it. Should I share it? Should I not share it? You look at it in family groups and all, several, especially regarding medicine. There are several such hoax videos and pamphlets and all being shared. So if you are a critical thinker, you will pause for a second and you will think about the credibility of the information that is being passed on. So this is something that the student should be engaged to do. That is like all these questions: what, why, how, when, who, all these things. And so there should be this, it doesn't mean that they should only be thinking about it rationally. They should have this empathy coming in place as well. So in what way can students explore their conclusions in a safe and responsible way is something that we need to think about as educator. How can students scaffold their own learning experiences as a method of trying new ways of interaction and discovery? This is something else that we need to think about. So several how and why questions that we need to ask ourselves. Okay, how can I support the students through the process of experimentation? And how can we promote this experiential learning within my classroom, within my context of teaching? This is something that we need to think about. In what ways can we actually allow the students the space to try the theories and their application? This is all these are all very interesting kind of questions. And I told you about Bloom's taxonomy and its cognitive process. So if you look at it, it takes us from remembering to understanding, then applying to analyzing, evaluating to creating. So is our course plan having some components which touch upon all these stages? That is remembering, which is very basic, understanding, again basic, applying slightly higher order, analyzing even more higher order, evaluating really, really higher order, and creating supremely higher order. So are we having components, assessment components or teaching components which are falling into these several different categories is something that we really want to look at. And then our course, whichever subject it is, and our pedagogic methods, are they actually leading the students to move from factual to conceptual knowledge, conceptual to procedural knowledge, and then to metacognitive? Metacognitive is that self-evaluation paradigm, thinking about thinking, learning to learn. These are all falling into the metacognitive paradigm. And that is where the self-directedness and autonomy, everything rests upon. So are we focusing on our teaching method and our teaching framework or course plan? Are they all conducive for this kind of a swift shift from factual to conceptual, conceptual to procedural, procedural to metacognitive kind of level? So can we do certain things? I can do certain things. I cannot do certain things. Can the learner create a new product when I teach them? Can they generate a new idea after my teaching? Can they justify a stand on their own about this theory? Or do they have a new perspective of this theory? So such kind of can do, cannot do kind of descriptors, if you set based on Bloom's taxonomy, it will be very helpful for you as a facilitator and for the student to frame that learning contract. Okay. So I think I have given you some input about being self-directed and being autonomous. And that's all from me for today. Please practice this WOOP activity because it can really help you in setting your goals as well. Because when we talk about learner autonomy and learner well-being, we cannot give something to others if we don't have it. Okay, so we need to be the kind of source of energy for ourselves, and we need to do that. So it's ideal if you practice this short-term goals related to your academics. You can put it in this WOOP loop and see whether it works. So identifying the obstacles and then conquering them using that, what if this happens, then I will do this kind of a troubleshooting mechanism, a problem solving mechanism, first being practiced by yourself or ourselves will be really helpful. Okay, thank you so much for being attentive, and thank you all those respondents here who were like Shipra and Rohini and others. Thank you, Ramesh and others. Thank you very much for being such a receptive audience, and thank you, Dr. Jayashree, for being a wonderful host and a moderator. And my thanks are due to Hasina as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. Thanks a lot. That was a session packed up with valuable knowledge. I hope all the participants have been highly benefited, and it was indeed an intellectual feast. Thank you once again, ma'am, for your readiness to accept our invitation, right from the real definition on education and teaching till self-introspection. And I would say you always retain a cheerful face, a cheerful smile right from the beginning till the end. The effort that you took to establish a contact with all the participants, making it very interactive, calling out by their names. You always have that a way of adding personal touch in your seminars, in your talk. Thank you very much, ma'am. Thanks a lot.
Sure.
Participants, we can meet again for yet another intellectual session at 1:30 sharp. Thank you. Thank you so much.
So shall I leave now? If you have any questions, you can post it to me.
Participants, any questions you can ask now. We have another 5 minutes.
I have typed down my personal email ID. So if you have any questions, you may reach out to me. Because
there is one question in the chat box, ma'am.
Right. Able to see it. Yes.
See with the teachers.
Rohini, thank you. Thank you so much. I have a doubt.
You're getting a feedback from all the participants.
Yes, I'm not able to read this question for some reason.
I'll do it. Students really aware of the components, that is the Bloom's taxonomy components, and what are all the essential cognitive pressures? That is one question posed by Rohini.
But are the students really aware of the components and what are all the essential cognitive pressures?
Components of evaluation, ma'am.
Components of evaluation.
Yes, impart all components into their evaluation.
Let me just check. What was she saying? You were talking about Bloom's and see whether if the teachers impart all components into their evaluation. But students, yeah, this is what I said, Rohini. Thank you. This is what I said. When we have it in our head, the students have no idea about what is Bloom's taxonomy. None of them are familiar with that. And I'm not saying that you have to present that, the triangle, the steps, the pyramid, nothing. I don't say that. What we have to do is to sensitize them without telling them that, yeah, today I'm going to teach you Bloom's taxonomy and these are the steps in there. Instead of doing that, why can't we be very open and say that, see, this question intends to test only whether you can capture the information from the text. Okay, but the other question is going to see, if I have 5 minutes, I'll show you a slide actually, which I have planned. But then I thought it's okay. I can just skip it. So look at this. This is an example for that. I'll just read it out quickly. It's something that I use in my class. Every day after work, Paul took his muddy boots off on the steps of the front porch. Alice would have a fit if the boots made it so far as the welcome mat. He then took off his dusty overalls and threw them into a plastic garbage bag. Alice left a new garbage bag tied to the porch railing for him every morning. On his way in the house, he dropped the garbage bag off at the washing machine and went straight up the stairs to the shower as he was instructed. He would eat dinner with her after he was presentable, as Alice had often said. So, there are several questions that can be asked. I ask my students to create questions. So, they ask questions like, where did Paul drop the bag? Where does he remove his boots? And then where does he drop his dusty overall? All sorts of questions. Some students ask questions like, what type of job does Paul do? Describe Alice. What relationship do Paul and Alice have? You think about it. These questions are slightly challenging. So suddenly everybody will say that Paul and Alice are husband and wife. Why can't they be mother and son? Why can't they be, lovers living together? Or why can't they be brother and sister? Why do they get that Paul and Alice are husband and wife? Then they say that she instructs him. So I ask them question, oh, so only wives can instruct husbands? Nobody else has that power? So you think about it. And then I ask them, where do you think the story happens? Does it happen in India or abroad? They say that it can happen anywhere. Then I ask more and more questions. They usually agree that it happens in the West, because no farmers, he can be a farmer as well, not just a construction worker. He can be a farmer as well, because he has dusty overalls and boots are this. So no farmer in India is supposed to have a boot and all, because because of the economic deprivation or whatsoever. Then I ask them, so if it happens abroad, does it happen in the UK or the US? And they'll have to really think about it. If I had time, I would have asked you the question. Now I'm giving you the answer. In all probability, this would have happened in the US. Why? The students will have to think about it more and more. You look at it, a plastic garbage bag. In England, they don't use garbage as the word. They use, litter box, or they use, what is the common word we use for? Bin, I forgot the most common word that we use for garbage bag. So they don't use. So when you look at it, you can see certain patterns there. So this is how I teach them the levels of Bloom's taxonomy, Rohini. I don't teach them that Bloom's taxonomy has 6 levels, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I don't tell them the cognitive load like that. I explain that this kind of question is very simple. Try to ask a little more confusing question. Try to ask a little more challenging kind of question. So I begin with questions, then move to the responses, and then grade them accordingly. See, this could have been better if you had included this theory or this aspect. Do you understand? So that's how we teach them without teaching them the structure or the theory part of it. This is my response to your question, Rohini. I hope it's clear. And
Thank you, ma'am.
sure. Thank you so much, Rohini.
Any more questions, audience?
You can write to me. Before, I don't want the session to be abruptly cut. I just want to thank all the audience and the organizers for inviting me over and being great listeners. So you may write to me if there are any questions. I'll be happy to answer as and when I get time. So I wish everyone a very happy new year, a very meaningful teaching experience and learning experience as well. Thank you so much. So Dr. Jayashree, thank you. I think I have talked to your father.
Okay.
He works with American University, right? So
Yes, ma'am.
yeah, we had a chat. My regards to
And
him.
if you drop to Chennai, we would love to have you in our campus, ma'am.
Certainly, I'll come over.
Yeah.
Thank you
It
so
would be
much.
more beneficial and useful if it is a face-to-face interaction more than
I would
online.
love to do that. Yeah.
Yes,
I'll
ma'am. Yes,
make it
ma'am.
happen. Thank you so
I got
much.
your number from Hasina. We will stay in touch.
Stay in touch, please. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Have a good day.
Stay
Thank
happy.
you. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you.